Hi, everybody. So I'm really, really excited. I am here for a special podcast. This has been years maybe in the works here. I'm here with my friend Trevor from How to Love Comics, and we're going to talk about Doctor Strange. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. I'm Trevor. This is actually the very first live stream I've ever done.
Yeah, this is really exciting. And this is my first time doing one with someone from Australia, so this is very exciting.
Yeah, I'm speaking to you from the future. 3 p.m. Saturday here.
Yes. So I guess tell us a little bit about your site or what you do at How to Love Comics.
Yeah, so How to Love Comics is all about getting people who are new, or people who are interested in comics, or people who are new to comics, and helping them with reading recommendations, tips, and just trying to make sure that the confusion that there is of comics is sort of alleviated to a degree, so they can just enjoy awesome comics pretty much.
Yeah, I came to know Trevor because this was in 2014. On my personal blog, I did a series called Adventures in Reading, where I dove into comics for the first time, and I had just bought like a kind of a packet from Amazon. And it was an interesting experience, and so he kind of led me to better stuff than was in that packet, and we became kind of friends, and he's the one that turned me on to She-Hulk, which is probably my favorite of any comic.
Oh yeah, it's great.
I like that a lot. And so I've been wanting to do something with him, but it's it's hard with the time difference, and so this is really exciting because this is the first comic book movie I think I've ever gone to where I really felt like I was semi-versed in the comic book. I don't think I've ever had that because I've never been like a huge hardcore comic book or superhero movie fan. The Marvel movies have kind of converted me, but I don't know. So this was just a cool experience to have read as much as I could find on Doctor Strange before seeing the movie. And it was kind of a different approach. So we're going to talk about the comic book character for a little bit, and then we will talk about the movie. And we are going to be doing spoilers. And so if you haven't seen the movie, then there's probably not the podcast for you, unless you don't care about spoilers. Then go ahead and listen. So let's talk about, we do have the chat room open. We already have a comment from I Am the Game Boy. He says, I can't believe how much I liked this movie. I thought it was incredible. So there you go. It's very exciting.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah, it was visually just probably the best Marvel movie ever.
I think so. Yeah, definitely visually. So let's talk a little bit about Doctor Strange as a character. And my understanding is that this is basically kind of a C-level character in the world of Steve Ditko, right? Is the writer, right?
So it was created by Steve Ditko and Stan Lee, but because of the whole classic Marvel style where Stan Lee was the editor of every comic and he was also writing the words to every comic, what he would do is he'd write a synopsis of what he wants the story to be. So he'd be like, well, this, Doctor Strange is to do this, this, and this. And then Steve Ditko, the artist, would pretty much plot the whole thing himself, pace it, and then draw it. And then Stan Lee would come back and just write the word, like the text. So in speech bubbles and then narration. So it was very, very collaborative in the sense, and but probably Steve Ditko probably doesn't get as much credit for what he's worth in that sense, because he did a lot of the heavy work. And this is at the same time both of them were doing Spider-Man together as well.
Okay, that makes sense.
So originally Doctor Strange was in a series called Strange Tales, which was a bit of a strange one, pardon my pun, in the sense that it was two stories in every issue. There was the main one was either the Human Torch or Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., or the Thing, or another character, and then Doctor Strange would be the backup tale, where it would be anywhere between 5 and 10 pages. So of the 30-page comic, It would only be the final third that would be Doctor Strange. And this is where they sort of, because there was sort of a backup tale, they could try lots of crazy things and get away with it because they didn't have to sort of worry about what readers wanted in the same way if you were doing Spider-Man or
the X-Men or something like that.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Is it similar to the magic that's used in Doctor Strange? Is it similar to, say, the magic that Scarlet Witch has? Some of those powers?
It's similar, but Doctor Strange, Scarlet Witch's powers are sort of meant to be on chaos and probability, and sort of the manipulation of that, where Doctor Strange and a lot of magic users within that sort of realm is connecting to him, sort of grab magic from other dimensions and dimensional beings known as the Vigilante, which are sort of, depending on which one they grab from, do sort of, give them different strengths. So often in the early comics, you'd hear him say stuff like, by the power of Vigilante or the hoary host of Hogarth or the Eye of Agamotto, and this is sort of like it's almost like a spell, and it's a mixture of crazy hand actions and sort of, well, depending what they said, would sort of be the spell.
Well, I liked at the end of the movie where he's like, I guess we're wizards now, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That was really good. So I thought I'd just sort of show you guys what I read. So I read the Doctor Strange Oath.
Oh, yeah, that's a fantastic one.
I really like this one a lot. This one was a little bit easier to read because I should have brought out, I have like a huge magnifying glass because sometimes comics are a little hard. I guess I'm old, but the font can be really small, hard to read. But this, I felt like it was a little bit cleaner. It wasn't as, this other one that I read, this Doctor Strange Volume 1 here, I thought it was a little bit hard just to read because there's a lot going on.
Yeah, Chris Buckley does cram in a lot
there's a lot going on one page there. It's just sort of hard for the brain to sort of focus. And I did enjoy it, but it was just a little, whew. And then I also read the Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom one, but that was from the library.
Yeah, that was a fantastic one too.
So that in that one they go to hell to save Doctor Doom's mother.
Yeah, it's a fantastic sort of tale. It's originally just a standalone graphic novel where they, like they said, they go to hell, and it's very much a Doctor Doom story as well as a Doctor Strange story. And I mean, Doctor Doom has always been one of the most popular villains in the Marvel universe, and you can see why, because he's a pretty badass looking guy with the mask and just the way that he sort of acts. But we've never had.
Yeah.
We've never really had gone into his motivations beyond sort of the general bad guy kind of things, world domination or superiority over another character. But this is sort of, we see a bit more of why he sort of acts the way he does, and probably the first time we've probably been empathetic for him as well.
Yeah, I was wondering if he was kind of like Loki in that way, in that you sort of sympathize with him a little bit. Because of his mother and everything.
Probably some of the earlier stories, not so much, but definitely this one, you do feel empathy for him because you do want him to succeed for once. Where usually you don't want the bad guy to succeed. You always want the hero to win, but in a way, he's the one of the heroes in the story, especially since they found a much badder foe in Mephisto, who's like the Marvel equivalent of the devil.
One thing that I noticed about these books, especially in comparison to the movie, is I felt like they did small very well. Like, yeah, definitely. Yeah, like he would be fighting off a bacteria. A lot of, particularly this book, is sort of him making house calls to a person who has sort of a supernatural kind of disease of some kind or whatever. And I thought that they did a good job of just sort of like Whereas the movie is definitely huge and big, and the world and everything. Whereas this, it's literally like him taking on diseases. He's fighting the disease, or he's going into somebody's head and sort of taking on a memory, or taking on a nightmare or something like that, an evil spirit that's in somebody's, that's bewitched somebody or whatever. I really liked that about it. I thought that was kind of cool. Kind of reminded me of Ant-Man in that way.
Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah, and the very first Doctor Strange story as well was very small in comparison. It was only a 4-page story, and it was a man comes up to Doctor Strange, visits his house and says, "Oh, I'm having these horrible nightmares. Can you please help me?" So Doctor Strange visits him in his sleep and goes into his dream, kind of thing. Then visits his dream and then fights the source of the nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in a way, it's very sort of it's not as surreal as some of the other ones, but it has a surreal element, and it sort of shows what can come later on in terms of the surrealness of the whole thing and the character itself.
Yeah, I liked it. It was sort of unpredictable, and he was also really like cheeky within this world. I liked that. I thought that was really funny. That he would make out with the evil female character, or just stuff like that. Forget where it was.
That particular, that's the start of the current series, and there's a lot of humor in it as well, and it's sort of like he's almost like a magical Tony Stark in some ways.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. I also liked how in this one, I mean, it's crazy because this book, this Oath one, was written in 1970, I think.
No, not. I think it's about 10 years old.
Oh, you're right. Sorry. It must have been the other one. 2006.
2006. Yeah.
You're right.
So it's roughly 10 years old now. Yeah.
You're right. And I thought it was just kind of amazing how many references there are about him being like Sherlock Holmes and Wong being Watson.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean,
it's like perfect casting. I mean, to cast Sherlock Holmes as Doctor Strange.
Yeah, definitely. And Benedict Wong is Wong. So.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Wong is very different in the comic book than in the movie. What do you think of that character in the comic?
Well, he's sort of, in a way, a bit like the Alfred for Doctor Strange, Batman's Alfred. He can be like he's definitely an ally. He sort of helps Doctor Strange out now and then. He's almost like the butler as well, but he's sort of like the emotional crux and he sort of gets guidance from him. I mean, sort of like his conscience. So he works as a bit of a utility character, the same way as Alfred would be for Batman.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why they kind of had to update that, because I just think it wouldn't have flown.
No, but have a
definitely. Subservient. I think he's kind of similar to like Kato and I think that's his name, right, in the Green Hornet. Where you have this.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you have this sort of subservient Asian character in the comic. And then another character that you see particularly in this one is called the Night Nurse, and she was kind of interesting, I thought.
Yeah, definitely. And she's one of those characters which was created in the 70s, and she's very much a throwback. And apparently she didn't really get used much in the last, I'd say, 20, 25 years. And then she showed up in Doctor Strange the Oath as very much like an anchor to the real world for Doctor Strange, as well as a bit of a love interest. And
do you think that she could be, because the Night Nurse in this book, she's basically like the doctor for the superheroes, for the Avengers, basically, and for the other superheroes. Do you think that she could actually become that character in the Infinity War?
Well, she is actually in the movie, but only by her sort of first name, Christine. Christine Palmer is the name of the night nurse, or one of the original night nurses. There's been a couple throughout the years.
But do you think that she could become the doctor to the superheroes, like in the Infinity War?
Maybe.
She's just a doctor in this one.
Yeah, definitely. Potentially, yeah. I reckon. I guess it'll be depend on if the actress wants to be in the movie, I guess, and and what their plans for the movies are again.
Yeah, that movie's gonna be so cluttered. I don't know. It's gonna be
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, then the Ancient One in the comics. What are your kind of thoughts on the Ancient One?
Well, I can see why they update. Well, the Ancient One hasn't been around for a while, actually. The Ancient One died back in the 70s, and then it paved the way for Doctor Strange to become the Sorcerer Supreme. But the Ancient One was an interesting character, sort of in the 60s, as as a very wise teacher, kind of sort of guiding, but in a confusing way. So sometimes in riddles. Yeah, it's a bit of a hard one to grasp. It's very much of the time the character is, sort of, there is that sort of guru sort of stereotype. So it'd be interesting to see. So in the movie, it's good that they sort of updated the character, and so it wasn't so stereotypical.
Yeah, we can kind of talk about, I think, this a little bit now in the movie. So in the movie, a lot of people have been upset that they whitewashed the character. I think I guess my thoughts on this is that it would be a lot more offensive if they had like tried to make her Asian, but she's not. Like, I'm not saying it's a good thing that they did, but she's just sort of this character who happens to be living in Kathmandu.
Yeah.
It happens to be. It's not like she's pretending. It's not like it's Mickey Rooney and Breakfast at Tiffany's or something like that. That would be way worse.
Yeah. Well, I think part of the decision to cast Tilda Swinton was that they didn't want an Asian character because they didn't want to offend China, because a lot of the Marvel movies are quite popular in China, and they didn't want to sort of, it's a big money maker over there for them, and I guess you don't want to offend them by.
Yeah, I think the only way you could do it is if you cast like Jackie Chan. Like, he's the only person I can think of who's just so well liked they could just do almost anything kind of with him. But I think that if you were to have sort of a Mr. Miyagi kind of character, it could just be more offensive.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
it would just be reinforcing stereotypes.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to. Yeah, it's a hard one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very, very tricky, because definitely there's things in the comic books that would never fly in a movie today.
No, definitely not. No, I mean, there's just a different audience, and a lot of the comics were made in a different time as well, where stereotypes were not seen as offensive, or they were made for different audiences, and it's a weird, hard one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So do you have any other standout aspects of Doctor Strange comic books that stand out to you compared to the other sort of Marvel comics?
Well, definitely, Doctor Strange has always been one where they're not afraid to be a bit more surreal. Especially some of the early ones, when trying to go to another dimension, whether it be the dark dimension or some other one. There was always this surreal element to it, where it was drawn in very abstract, crazy shapes and surreal sort of rays and all kinds of things, which made it look fantastic in the sense that, it wasn't just some bland world. There was something that was very alien, but in a magic way, which made it quite exciting. And they sort of continued on that with the newer ones as well, and it depends on who the artist is as opposed to their own interpretation of it as well, which I find quite interesting.
Yeah, and like I said, it felt very sort of small, which I really liked, and I would love, like, in the next movie, if, I don't know, like, say he went inside Loki's brain or something like that, or just did something sort of smaller that would be kind of, because everything's just going to be so big in Infinity War, that I think that would be really fun if he had sort of this weird small little kind of task to do.
Yeah, definitely. I guess with the Marvel movies, they always sort of start at a certain point in every movie, they have to sort of get larger and larger. So hopefully hopefully whatever role, it's based on, okay, we'll give a spoiler. So just if you're still watching and you don't want to know, just close your ears for a second. There's definitely that post-credit scene where Thor shows is in it. It sounds like he's going to Doctor Strange will make some kind of appearance in
Yeah.
Thor: The Dark World. So not Dark World, Ragnarok. Sorry, not
Yeah.
going back in time to
I'm so excited for Thor Ragnarok because I love the director Taika Waititi.
Oh yeah, he's fantastic. Yeah.
Have have you seen What We Do in the Shadows?
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. And have you seen
Oh,
the Wilder People?
yeah. I love
Yeah,
them
that's
both.
fantastic. Yeah, they're both great. So
And I
we'll see.
loved oh sorry.
It'll be fantastic to see what he does with the whole, like a much larger budget and
Yeah.
crazy ideas.
Yeah, and I loved his little thing of where Thor was during Civil War. That was so funny.
That's right. Yeah,
That
that was
was
fantastic.
awesome. And I have a big crush on Chris Hemsworth, so I'm so excited about that movie. But anyway, I guess what are your feelings on the MCU as a whole and the Marvel movies? Are you generally a fan? Which ones have been some of your favorites?
Yeah, I'm generally a fan, but what I try and do is I try and avoid most of the news coming up because the comic book websites are always cluttered with you know potential spoilers or not even spoilers, but speculation on Marvel. So I try and avoid that and just go into the movies clean as possible. Just seeing
Mm-hmm.
maybe this is the trailers, so I don't get my expectations up too high. I always
Mm-hmm.
tend to come out being enjoying the movies because I haven't got that build those expectations up.
Yeah.
Definitely. So I reckon probably my favorite would probably be the hardest one to ask because there's just so many of them and they've all been mostly good.
Yeah, I don't think any
Probably
of them
my
are horrible. I don't think there's any that's like Batman and Robin bad or Superman 4 or something like that, in my
no.
opinion. Uh, yeah, I think the worst one is, for me, the worst one is probably Thor Dark World is probably the worst one, but I still like it
Yeah,
because it's still got
yeah. I mean,
Loki.
yeah, I still like it, but yeah, it wasn't as good as the first one. It felt a bit flat.
Mm.
Same with maybe Iron Man 2, felt a bit flat as well.
Yeah,
For me.
I thought that it was sort of interesting, this idea of sort of, because most superhero movies, it's like in secret, the Spider-Man and Bruce Wayne and whatever. And I thought it was kind of
Yeah.
interesting, this idea of sort of a superhero that's a celebrity, but they made him way too unlikable. Like Tony Stark should
Yeah,
never be that unlikable
yeah,
in
definitely.
as an Iron Man 2.
And they sort of were pretty lazy with the soundtrack too, being essentially just AC/DC greatest hits,
Yeah, that's true.
which was,
I
was
Yeah, I think my favorite is still the Avengers. It's still my favorite. I love it. I think it has heart. I think it's so funny. I think it's exciting. I love seeing all of those guys together. It's just I think it's really well paced. I love Loki as the villain,
yeah.
and I think it was the movie that actually kind of brought me back into the fold of superhero
Oh
movies.
yeah,
Yeah, because after I saw Green Lantern, I was like, I am done. I hate these movies. These are stupid. I don't like them. And I swore, so I actually saw Avengers a year later. I didn't see it when it came out because I was
oh
like,
really?
I'm not going to see it. And my friends were like, because I had liked Iron Man, but my friends were like, no, you got to see it. And so finally I gave in and I was like, this is great. I love it.
Well,
So it,
yeah,
it won me back.
yeah. You should never base your expectations on the Green Lantern movie. Yeah, I never actually seen the Green Lantern movie. Strangely enough,
Oh,
I had a friend saw it like on the first weekend, and he ranted on it about it for about an hour to me about how much he disliked it. So I'm like, okay, I'll never see it.
yeah,
And it's been on.
I didn't like it at all. It just wasn't for me. I thought it was super annoying and just I don't like comic book movies where sort of the big thing is sort of let's sort of blow everything up and let's be sort of big. And I really didn't like X-Men Apocalypse this year because that kind of super villain and that kind of thing, I don't know. I gotta be rooting for the characters. I gotta like the characters. I gotta be laughing. I gotta be some kind of emotion. Anyway, I just found it super annoying and irritating.
Yeah, no, that one fell a bit flat too. It just sort of didn't
Yeah.
gel well, and yeah.
Even when you got Psylocke in a skimpy outfit at Auschwitz, it's just like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, no, it didn't work.
No.
No.
So anyway, but yeah, so it kind of brought me back, and then I love. And I like you said, I love Thor, even though those movies aren't great, but I still just love him so much. And I love Loki. And I really liked Ant-Man a lot.
Yeah, Ant-Man was a lot of fun too, yeah.
Yeah. And I actually didn't hate Age of Ultron as much as other people seem to. I thought it was kind of cool the way that, like, I liked the way that they sort of added to these characters and fleshed them out more. Like, we got to learn about we got to learn about Black Widow and her past and the sterilization, and we got to learn more about the sort of the menace that was following Tony. And anyway, his nightmares, and you got to see these other sides of him. So I actually thought it was okay. But anyway, so I've been kind of slowly, I don't know, Marvel has kind of won me over, I guess.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Now you can wait for DC to win over too.
Yeah.
Hopefully Wonder Woman. The trailer came out the other day. That seems like it should be right. I mean, it's a very different one. Yeah, it looks good. It's a very different Wonder Woman, very sort of action paced. But I reckon it should fit well. All the pieces should be there, but a good Wonder Woman movie should be.
Yeah, because sorry.
And it's interesting that it said World War II as well, so it can be out on its own.
I think it's actually World War I, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I was thinking that was. But anyway, yeah, I hope it'll be good because female superhero movies have just had it rough, and so if it's bad, that'll be bad. But this year I think has been really rough. I mean, I liked Civil War a lot, but I don't know. I just haven't liked really anything else as far as superhero movies, and I don't know. I just missed 2014 because 2014, Guardians of the Galaxy, Winter Soldier, X-Men: Days of Future Past, and Big Hero 6 all in one year. That was.
Oh yeah, it was a good year for superhero movies. Yeah.
Anyway, so all right, well. Let's get into this movie. What was your overall kind of base sort of response to the film as a whole?
I really enjoyed it, and it was big in a small way, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was the globe trotting, but it wasn't sort of like, oh, okay, we're now going to have 15 different superheroes in it, like Civil War did.
That's true.
And visually, it was just fantastic. The effects with it, whether it be the out of body experiences or the kaleidoscope sort of effects, or even the city sort of kaleidoscoping, sort of in a very Inception kind of style. It was just like looked fantastic, and the characters were. Doctor Strange has always been the origin story. Is I reckon one of the best of the Marvel origin stories as well, in the sense that because it's not just a point A to point B. Okay, you have now got powers. You are going to fight crime. It's just also like a character journey in the sense that he goes from an egotistical surgeon to redeeming himself in the eyes of others and sort of learning to be more humble and use his gifts for a more less selfish purpose, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that it stays small until the end, and then it gets very big. But I said in my review that I think I really enjoyed it very much. I gave it an A-. I really liked it. I think it holds on two factors. One is how great Benedict Cumberbatch is in this role. It is the part he was born to play. He is so good in this part. I think that he is egotistical when he needs to be, but like he still manages to be a little bit likable, sort of in that ego. He's not too mean, I guess, when he's unlikable.
Yeah, he's
um,
not like a total jerk,
yeah,
but
yeah. He's
but
just
yeah,
sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, definitely, he's not a total jerk. But at the same time, you're like, oh, come on, mate. Can you just, can you can you just be nice? Can you just do this for this person? You don't have to take the money. It's all about the money all the time.
Yeah. Exactly. And you can tell he has had successful relationships, and there's a little bit more to him than he kind of lets on. And also,
Mm.
I think he does do the vulnerable part, I think, really well too. Like when he's out there banging on that door, you really feel for him.
Oh, I definitely do. Yeah, and you want him to succeed. Yeah, because
Hmm.
you can tell that the ruining, the destruction of his hands is just, it's devastating for him.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's his whole life. And you definitely get the idea that like it's more than just him not being able to have this fancy career, but he really is sad that he's not going to be able to help people anymore.
Yeah, it's part of his identity
Hmm.
essentially.
Yeah. And so, yeah, then the other thing I think is key in enjoying this film is the visual effects, and they are just stunning. I think my only little critique with them is that I wish some of the sequences had been a little bit shorter because I saw it in the IMAX 3D and I started to get a little
Oh,
a little motion sick, particularly towards the end.
I yeah, I mean, that makes sense with IMAX when it's like this big.
Yeah,
But yeah, apparently that's the best place to see it as well, is in IMAX 3D.
yeah,
I end up seeing it just in the 2D screen, but no, it still looks fantastic on 2D.
yeah.
Might go to see it on IMAX.
Yeah, and I'm particularly, I guess, sensitive in that regard, but it was just like, okay, I've had enough. We can move on to the next scene. And then it would go longer and I'm like, oh. But it was spectacular. It's really, really great. So, okay.
Yeah, so I mean, like, just one more thing on the effects. I mean, they've already won an award. They won the Hollywood Film Award for visual effects.
Oh, really?
Visual effects of the year. Yeah, so even before the movie came out. So I mean, that says a lot about the visual effects as well.
Okay. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I would be surprised if it didn't win. I can't think of anything else that's come close in the visual
No,
effects this
definitely.
year at all. Okay, so how do you think that they did in adapting the comic? What did they do differently, and how did you think that worked?
Um, all of I'll start that again. With the comic book movies, I always find that if you try, you can never just directly adaptate the comics, just because there's just so many moving parts, parallel stories. They want to take points from the 60s and something that they might have been doing in the 70s and today, and amalgamate it all together, so it's suitable for a larger audience. So I always find that as long as the core of the character is done well, that I don't mind if they change little things, as long as they're not stupid things, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, Batman fighting Superman, it doesn't go, it goes against the characters. Um, where you see Doctor Strange being, yeah. So I mean, like, yeah.
Yeah.
So like, for instance, like, um, the Ancient One in the comics back in the 60s lived in a cave up in the Himalayan mountains, which, it's into this very mystical guru kind of thing, where having it in like Kathmandu still fits within a thing, even though it's in the city, through a hidden door. It still has that sort of mystical kind of feel to it. So I mean, I don't care if like things like that. Where I know other people will be like, "Oh my god, why did they do that?"
Yeah.
And also things like having Baron Mordo being good to start with, because in the comics he's very much a bad guy from the start.
Oh, interesting.
But I sort of knew that whatever by the end of this movie, more likely he was going to sort of be on that path to being a bad guy, which we see at the end when he
Mm-hmm.
goes his own way, and then the post credit scene, where he starts stealing magic. I mean, Baron Mordo is very much the go-to villain with Doctor Strange, and
Mm.
which makes sense because he's the one he can do the most with because he's not defined by a certain shtick,
Mm-hmm.
and he's sort of and his motivations are very much on greed, power, which is now like essentially like the polar opposite to Doctor Strange, where he uses his gift to help, where Mordo is very much about I want more power, I am going to and use it for selfish means thinking. So
Yeah, I think that's true with any adaptation. Like you can be a lot of the choices that they made in, let's say, Days of Future Past. I'm told is very different than the comic, but I think what they did was craft a story that within that movie it really worked and it made sense.
definitely.
And I think they had. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, you get first, and then I'll think.
No, I think because Jennifer Lawrence was the big star, I think they had to make changes to make Mystique a bigger character.
Definitely, yeah.
But it worked, I think, really well.
Yeah, and like Days of Future Past, I mean, that story back in the early '80s, late '70s, was only 2 issues long. So it's about 50. They've adapted 50 pages into a 2-hour movie, which there's always going to be changes.
Yeah.
But like, as long as you get the core of what the story's about, what the character's about, it doesn't matter if you add new things or change things around. But as long as it's generally done well. And
I think part of the problem with Batman, there are a lot of problems with Batman v Superman, but one of the problems was they tried to combine like 8 different comics into one, and because Doomsday's in one comic, and then Killing Superman's in one comic, and Batman v Superman's in another, and it's just like the list goes on, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and that's when they wanted to like the fast track it, like establishing the greater universe where Marvel is very
Dark
slow.
Knight Returns is in there, Dark Knight, the Frank Miller one, that's in there.
Yeah, there was it was heavily influenced by that. Yeah.
Boy.
It becomes a visual. Like, it just becomes a mess.
Yeah,
and it's like adding all the ingredients and stirring around. It becomes like a brown color. When you mix paint and you just put too many colors in, it just becomes a yucky brown.
It becomes Doomsday.
Yeah. Well, Doomsday is Doomsday is a kind of character you can only do once because every time you do it again, it comes with diminishing returns. Yeah. It's meant to be the character that killed Superman back in the 90s, but because he had no character, it was just pure rage and a very 90s design of bone claws and giant muscles. It just doesn't work. So every time they brought him back, they've sort of grown a bit.
It was too soon for that too. I mean, it'd only been in 2 movies. For Superman to die in 2 movies, it was too soon.
Yeah.
But anyway, we can go on that forever. Okay, so yeah, I was there anything that you think that they could have done better as far as the adaptation that you wish they'd included?
I reckon, and this is me nitpicking, of course, but I reckon they could have done some more of the incantations that the early comics had. So like calling upon their power sources. I guess I can understand why they didn't do it because it sort of becomes this extra level of explanation they have to do, and it sort of takes you out that it becomes a bit of exposition dump. But I wouldn't mind hearing something like by the eye of Agamotto and by the hoary host of Hogger or the crimson bands of Sitarak, things like that, just as like a little Easter egg kind of thing. But I can understand why they haven't got it, so I'm not going to be like, why didn't they do that? And walk out of it or something.
It was kind of funny the way that in the library, those are the least protected special books ever. Like they're supposed to be this like, don't touch those books, and like all he has to do is just like take them off the thing, and he's reading them and doing his thing.
It's like this little chain. Yeah. like you think you put them on the ground and cover them with concrete or something.
Yeah.
Put magic spells, protect them with spells or something. Yeah.
Like that monster book in Harry Potter is more protected.
Yeah.
So I did think that was kind of funny. I thought that, like I said, just maybe some of those small moments might have been kind of fun, but you can't do everything in one movie.
No,
So,
definitely not.
yeah. And so, what did you think? We have another origin story, and I'm curious to know because to me, this still felt really fresh. And how do you think they were able to do that when, like, for instance, I hated Batman the Killing Joke this year. I thought it was horrible. And
Oh,
you
there's
get
all kinds of problems with that. Yeah.
Oh, I hated it. And that you supposedly get a Joker origin story, and it was so lame. And I'm just curious, like how were they able to do that and not make it feel tired, in your
Well,
opinion?
I guess it's because well, they got the magical elements. Everything else is very much rooted more in science fiction, where this is
Mm-hmm.
more of the supernatural occult. That's probably one way of doing it. But I guess it's also he has to. It's more of a earning of the powers than accidentally receiving them. For instance, he's not getting bitten by some kind of radioactive spider, and okay, I've actually got these powers now. Or it's you had to earn them. You had to sort of train for them. You had to study. It was all you essentially had to go through the magic equivalent of a medical degree to get.
Mm.
So he's, I mean, I guess that's one way, and because it's a character journey, it's like a journey receiving these powers as opposed to, okay, in the first 10 minutes I've got powers now. I'll try and learn how to use the powers.
That's
Of
true.
like,
As opposed to like, falling in a vat of acid or getting the what's it that the Hulk gets? The
like
ceremony or
like a serum or something, or getting bitten by a
yeah.
radioactive spider. Yeah.
It's more like something he has to kind of earn and learn and be humbled
Mm.
and so that's a very good point. It's not it's more of a organic, relatable origin story than a lot of the others in Marvel, at
Yeah,
least.
definitely. Yeah, it's very much a journey, and like it's not like a light, like a lot of the other characters, their power is like a light switch. They either haven't got it at the start,
Mm-hmm.
and then they receive it, and it's like all there where he had to sort of learn it bit by bit. So it's not like he's as soon as he starts learning magic, oh, I got all my magic now. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like you have to learn this, and you learn this. And it's like stepping stones.
Mm-hmm. And I think they could have even had a little bit more of that, of the training and the
Yeah,
learning, and it kind of happens
yeah,
fast.
yeah. I reckon there'll be some deleted scenes where they've got more of that. I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess we already kind of talked about it, but how did you feel about the Ancient One in this movie? What do you think of her?
Yeah, I think she was all right. I reckon, yeah, she was sort of Tilda Swinton was a good cast for her. You sort of bit of age on her as well, and it's sort of with age comes wisdom, all that. I mean, and the Ancient One is always meant to be like a wise teacher kind of character, and I reckon she fits the role pretty well there.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel about it?
Yeah, it's really interesting because the interview with Scott Derrickson, he says that like they were trying to do something kind of progressive in having a woman be the Ancient One, and then it turned
Yeah,
out, oh no, everyone's mad because it's which is interesting, kind of. And I thought she was great. I mean, she's just so different and weird that as a person, Tilda Swinton is, that it was easy for me to buy her as this character. And I thought that I sort of bought the reveal with her at the end that that she had kind of sold herself a little bit to have this
yeah.
longer life. It made a deal with the dark with Dormammu to extend her life.
Yeah, I mean, and it gives that sort of. I mean, it also allows the plot to progress elsewhere as well with Mordo's character, and it sort of turns him. It's a tipping point for him to be sort of the next bad guy,
Mm-hmm.
and but it's also that's the whole sort of it makes it interesting the whole sort of sins of the father kind of concepts, which they do tiptoe on comics now and then. They've done it in X-Men with in the comics where Professor Xavier hasn't always been the best of guys. They found out, and it's always sort of that tension. I reckon that makes some things more interesting. Where if it's just everyone's goody all the time, it's sort of it gets a bit boring, or
Mm-hmm.
it about making sacrifices, I guess.
Yeah, because a lot of people have said, "Oh, it's another lame Marvel villain" or whatever, and I don't think those people understand that Marvel movies really aren't about villains. Marvel movies are about heroes, and
Yeah, definitely.
so it doesn't really matter that much. I mean, uh, and to me at least, it doesn't really matter that much. But in this case, I thought it was kind of cool the way that there were sort of levels of villainy. Like, yes, you have the Mad Mikkelsen character. I forget his name, but
Yeah, Kelly's just
he was just kind of a fighter. Like, he wasn't really like I mean, because you had the ancient one kind of like tempted by the dark side or whatever. And you have Dormammu, and then you had also the Mordo becoming bad by the end.
Yeah, and so he'll probably be one of the villains in the next movie, or if they do a third one, he might be.
Yeah.
They might wait for that. Yeah.
I like that. I thought that was good, the way that you kind of had these different levels of villainy. It wasn't quite as predictable as, say, the man in a suit villain that they've had in a lot of movies.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of villains, I was a bit disappointed maybe that they used Dormammu so early, because he's sort of like the top tier of the Marvel, I don't know, of the Doctor Strange villains in a sense. But I guess the way that they sort of did that, it can always come back. And a friend of mine was saying that he could easily return in another movie, whether it be a Doctor Strange one, or even if they decided to do like, Avengers 5 or Avengers 6, he could easily be the villain in that.
Yeah, because he's not gone for good.
Yeah, it's not like he died or anything. He just got, he just vanished from entering Earth. So, I mean, like, yeah, he could easily come back, whether it's they visit the dark dimension or he goes to another dimension, whatever.
Yeah. So what do you think of the side characters? Like, really, I thought that all of these characters I thought would have bigger parts, all had pretty small parts. And I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing, but the Rachel McAdams character, the Mads Mikkelsen villain, Wong had a pretty small part, Mordo had a small part, like they weren't in it that much.
No, I mean, I guess it's like it's not quite Doctor Strange and Friends, but yeah.
Yeah.
I guess when all these superhero movies now are planned as a trilogy, I guess, so they'll probably return in the next movie, and you'll find out more about them again.
Yeah, like,
and I guess and they all serve a different role as well within that.
I mean, if you just compared Wong to, say, Falcon, or in the Captain America movies, or Rhodey in Iron Man, like, those have way bigger parts. And so, and I did think it was interesting though that Wong, he's more sort of his equal as far as skill, and if not more so in certain things, and he's sort of wiser in certain ways. Like, they definitely did not have any of that sort of subservient kind of attitude about it.
No, definitely not. He's definitely like he's meant to be the wise character. Sort of, he'll probably be sort of in the further movies. He'll probably be like definitely the wise character, sort of the one that is the conscience in a way. Where we're like, like he sort of was when he was in the library, where you don't touch these books kind of thing, because you're gonna ruin this and that.
Yeah, kind of like Jarvis in Vision, a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely, I can see that. Yeah.
Okay, so then my next question is, so what did you think of Strange using the eye to trap Dormammu, and what did you think of the design and just how that whole sequence with him like dying and coming back and dying and coming back and dying and coming back? Did you like that?
I've seen people on Twitter say that they didn't like it. I didn't mind it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's because it's the thing. It's the interesting thing where you're not just defeating a villain by punching him and punching him and punching him and throwing everything you've got. It's like you have to use his mind. It's sort of like some of the Superman stories from the 50s and 60s. There's not so much about Superman, using his powers to beat people up, to beat the villain. he had to sort of use his mind and like maybe a combination of his gifts, like abilities, to sort of in a certain way to beat the villain because punching him isn't going to do it. Whether it be like Mixelplick, where you had the trick, the only way to defeat him and was to trick him into saying his name backwards was the only way of banishing him. Things like that sort of makes things interesting because it's less predictable.
Yeah, that's
And
how I felt too. And a lot of people have criticized the comedy in this. I thought it was great. I thought every joke, I laughed. I liked it. I guess that's the kind of thing I like when it's not sort of, I don't know. I thought it was clever and it made me laugh.
and it breaks up the tone as well. Otherwise, you can have you don't want the same tone for the whole way through. Otherwise, it could end up being a bit bleak. You end up being sort of Batman versus Superman. Well, maybe not quite Batman versus Superman, but it just it gives you a bit of laugh. It keeps you interested. You might wake you up a little bit if you're falling asleep.
It's not like annoying like it is in Green Lantern, or something like that, where it's just so like wink, wink, kind of gaudy and tawdry. There's really none of that. I like it even in the comic book when there's a point in the Oath one where he's like, "This is why I didn't want to join the Avengers." Working with you people. I thought it really worked. I thought it was funny, and I thought it was a cool solution to the problem. It made me all happen really fast. I'm like, who the heck is this guy? And some of the names were so hard that like I was a little confused, and I kind of had to kind of put all the pieces together once I got home. It's sort of a lot to take in that last half hour of kind of what the heck is going on.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the whole reversing time, which was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's it's a bit more of a sinking in kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there's all these dimensions, right? And then there's these like portals that take you to one takes you to London, one takes to New York, and one takes to Hong Kong, right?
Yep. So they essentially are like the beacons of the magic within the world of it on Earth, and it's sort of if they destroy that, it sort of weakens all magic, I guess, or the connection of magic. So that's why they're trying to destroy him all. Yes.
How many sorcerers are there? Are there multiple sort of camps where they're training, or is this just from the ancient one, or how many do you think there's lots, or do you think it's like a small handful of group?
I guess there would be. I mean, it depends on how wide they want to span the Marvel universe. But like in the comic, at least, there's different kinds of magic. It's not all just the same source. There's sort of, let's say, for instance, like a character like Scarlet Witch, where she's got a different kind of magic, or Brother Voodoo, who's he's a strange, interesting character who's created in the 70s, but his powers are very much more of a voodoo kind. So it's like it's tapping into different sources, and I guess they could do that in the movie, just like the way that there's there's like the Norse kind of Asgardian kind of magic.
Yeah. So how was it? The character, the Benjamin Bratt character, I forget his name. That so he was paralyzed. He goes to the Ancient One, and through gaining the magic, he's able to like focus the magic to healing him. Is that basically what it is?
Yeah, I think it's a magic. It's like he's using magic to realign his spine or something like that and hold it like that, from what I could tell. So it wasn't a matter of okay, you're healed, like some kind of evangelical healer or something like that. It was
right.
It was more of a spiritual magic kind of thing where it's you learn this gift and of these. I guess it's a discipline in a way, and you can use that discipline to help yourself.
So was that
way of doing it? Yeah.
Yeah. So was that selfish of him, or to do that, to use that magic just for his own self? But I guess
I'm not sure. Yeah, it's a bit grey in that sense because
Yeah.
he's helping himself, but like I guess it depends on what he does afterwards. So
Mm.
if, for instance, if he then goes and joins a charity or something like that, or saving lives, or you're reading with children, who knows what he's doing, where he couldn't do that
Playing
before.
basketball. That's all we
Yeah,
saw. Like
maybe he's playing basketball with children. Maybe he's trying to get into the NBA.
Yeah, because so at the end, in the second end credit, Mordo comes in, and the Benjamin Bratt character, he takes the magic out of him.
Yeah.
And so he can't like recreate that magic. It's not the way the magic works. It's just like a thing that you can take out of a person.
Well, I guess it maybe he's like, for instance, Mordo, when they were talking about the different objects and how some objects, some magic is too potent, so they embalm it, like they put it in within an object. Maybe that particular magic is put within his spine. Who knows?
Mm. Well, and
so
oh yeah, that reminds me about the Infinity Stone that they found. So which number of Infinity Stone is that? Now that we've gotten universe, do you know?
I'm not sure. I mean, there's about 5 or 6 in total, but I guess it's there wouldn't be many more to reveal. I guess it's probably like maybe number 4 or 5.
Something like that. I'm not sure, but that was interesting. I did not expect an Infinity Stone in this movie.
Yeah, there was sort of speculated that there would be an Infinity Stone, but I was like, well, maybe not. But yeah, I mean, I guess if they were going to do an Infinity Stone, something like the Eye of Agamotto is probably the best thing they could do with it. Otherwise, unless they're going to have it just sitting around at the Ancient One's house or something like that, or in the library.
Yeah, because there's been Loki's, and that one's been in a ton of different ones, and then movies, and then you have the one in Guardians, and then the one here, and I'm sure there's got to be one more that I can't think of.
One in the Vision's head. Isn't that an Infinity Stone?
What's that?
Like the triangle and the Vision's head. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
So
okay.
Yeah, 4.
All right, 4. Very cool. All right, so.
And there's also the Cosmic Cube. That's meant to be an Infinity Stone as well from Captain America.
Oh yeah, you're right.
That's it. Yeah.
See, a lot of people get annoyed by that kind of stuff. I like it. I think it's kind of a puzzle. It's sort of fun.
Yeah, and it sort of joins everything and it connects everything in a way which isn't too not so. It's not essential to know, but if you do know it, it's an extra little bit. It's like an Easter egg.
Right. Exactly. When they lean on it too hard, then that's a problem. But I think, is it just sort of a little puzzle for fans? I think it's fun. Okay, so really just last question. I only have one more question. So the mid credits, we see Doctor Strange meeting with Thor, and that's hilarious. And so, what do you think of that scene?
I mean, that was pretty funny, especially with the beer. the way that Thor just looked really not quite smug, but looked very chilled. It was almost like he was stoned.
Yeah.
Sitting on the couch, and then I like the bit where they cut away. Like he drank all the beer and turns away, and then they come back and the beer fills up again.
Yeah, that was really good.
It's like the magic beer. It sort of reminded me in Australia. There's this famous ad for Tim Tams. Do you know what Tim Tams are?
I don't.
They're like this chocolate biscuit, but and they're sort of like a rectangular chocolate biscuit, very popular. But there's a classic ad from late 90s, early 2000s where these women meet this genie and their wish was for unlimited Tim Tams, and so they keep eating like Tim Tams in a packet and it keeps appearing. It sort of reminded me of that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it was really fun, and I am so excited to see those two characters together. So you think that Doctor Strange will be in Thor Ragnarok then?
I reckon he'll be like a major character. I think it'd be a cameo appearance. Yeah.
I'm so excited for that movie. I think it sounds great. You've got Hulk, you've got Thor, you have the Loki. I assume is going to be in it, right?
Yeah, I reckon. Based off the ending of Dark World, I reckon Loki will be in it. Yeah.
Yeah. That will be really good. I
Jeff Goldblum's going to be in it.
Oh yeah, Jeff Goldblum. I think it's gonna be really good. And so anyway, I guess my last question was just, how do you think this? Do you think Captain America: Civil War or this? Which one's your favorite, and why?
Oh, that's a hard question. So they're two very different movies.
Yeah.
So it's almost apples and oranges. I mean,
That's true.
they've got very different scopes as well. I guess like Civil War, I won't say it's not a hodgepodge because it does it quite well, but it's a lot more to take in, I reckon.
Mm-hmm.
So and it's very much setting up. It's like a stepping stone to another movie. It's essentially Avengers 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
so I'm gonna go Doctor Strange. I reckon.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Doctor Strange. How about you?
I'm really close on them. I really am, and maybe I have to admit, when I saw Civil War 2, 3, 4 times, then I my enthusiasm lessened a little bit, and I've only seen Doctor Strange once, so it's sort of hard to compare. I mean, I really love Civil War, but I'm just saying I went from like I think it was like an A+ to more like an I might give it the same grade actually I gave Doctor Strange now. I might give it an A-. And so I think they're pretty close. I think they're both really satisfying. I think they're both really good at what they do. I think they have visual spectacle. I think they're really entertaining. I think for me, I guess I'm just so invested in Tony and Steve at this point that like I'd have to give that the edge because that was so emotional, like what Tony had to go through. And I think that one of the great things about Civil War is that it made other movies better. And I think you can tell a lot about a good movie if it can do that.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, like it made Ultron better. It made Iron Man 3, I think, significantly better because you really see sort of the panic attacks and the other things that he's having in Iron Man 3. You see that, and then you get his vision that Tony gets in Ultron, and you see that come to fruition in Civil War, where he is kind of paranoid. He doesn't want those choices anymore. He doesn't want that agency. He wants to give it away. Whereas Steve, he has just seen in his previous movies, he's seen governments and even Shield,
yeah.
get corrupted. So the last thing that he's going to trust is an organization like this Accord. And so it made perfect sense kind of where they were at. And I thought that the only thing I would change to me in Civil War is I think they shouldn't have had the letter at the end. I think that just kind of, you don't need to make everything sort of perfect and gooey and happy. I think that would have been better. And I think that they should have had Rhodey die. I think that would have made it more emotional. I think it would have been sort of the Agent Coulson kind of moment that you have in Avengers.
Yeah, definitely. So they've tried doing that in the comics recently with Civil War 2, which is a spiritual sequel. It's not quite it's not a direct sequel, but it came out similar time as the movie, so they were trying to cash in on that as well. Where Rhodey actually does die in very early on, so it sort of gives that reason for Tony to sort of it's like his sort of involvement into the conflict.
Because he has that high fall. I mean, there's no way he could live through that. I mean,
yeah,
no. So anyway, but I thought it was super entertaining. I really enjoyed it. I thought the airport scene was awesome. I loved Spider-Man. I think he was great.
Yeah, Spider-Man's great. And the Spider-Man Homecoming is going to be pretty good, I reckon.
Yeah, I'm so excited for that. So it's looking good. And so I'm really excited about Marvel. I think they are just on a roll. I cannot wait for Guardians of the Galaxy 2. We just have so much fun stuff to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, there's always something good to look forward to. And because they've probably planned out to 2050 already, and they've probably got a roadmap to 2050, and there's always going to be like 4 movies to look forward to every year.
Yeah, and people say, oh, people are getting superhero fatigue. I don't think so. I mean, if a movie that was, in my opinion, as sloppy as Suicide Squad can make the money that it made, people aren't tired of superhero movies.
No, yeah, definitely not. I reckon there'd be people who maybe there's not so much fatigue about the movies. Maybe it's the fatigue from the marketing. because the superhero movies have always got this constant marketing, and it's sort of, even though they get announced like 3 years, 4 years in advance, and
Yeah.
and there's always, little bits in the news all the time about them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's
But I
true.
reckon,
I did feel, I know that I didn't see Deadpool because of the content, but I did feel that marketing campaign was overwhelming. It was just so much. I was just like, oh, I could.
it was very clever, but yeah, there was a lot of
A lot of it, exactly. So anyway, all right. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it, and I
Thanks
had
for
a
having me on.
ton of fun. And hopefully, we get to do it again soon. And so, where can people find you?
So you can find me on howtolovecomics.com, or if you want to get to me on Twitter, it's howtolovecomics, or if you want to pester me on my personal one, I'm Trevor Van Az on Twitter. If you want to pester me and tweet me and say I'm wrong or say I'm right, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, so that would be awesome. I'll have all of those links down below. And thank you again. And you can find me at Smiling LDS Girl, and at 54 Disney Reviews is my blog. And thanks again.